Hi everybody, this is Osprey from MyChartCoach.com, and in this video we're going to take a look at some of the small caps that were in play today. And so first up we're going to take a look at ticker symbol IMTE. Okay, so the stock was today's pump and dump. It didn't make this huge move. It started the day, it closed the day before down here at $2, and then it had the gap up open and the big run. The key level to keep an eye on now is this closing price back here on the 11th of back here on the 22nd of November. That's going to be the big level at $10. If the candles do work their way back into the bands, that would be the first big support level. That was the high close there. This has only been traded for a short period of time. They did have a promotional firm start pumping the stock awareness, so it had the big run up. And so now what happened was it did pull back into the close. As you can see here, this descending triangle pattern formed. It broke above the red descending resistance line towards the close there, but it did pull back and close down below EMAs 4, 8, and 13. If those remain resistance tomorrow, you could see that pull back down to this $10 level. Okay, so to the upside, if it can break above 26, all right. So this was the intraday high close after the run up. That would signal upside potential. So you want to see a break above 26 if you're a bull, and then to the downside, if it drops below 22, that's going to be downside risk. You're going to have support here between these candles, but the next big support would be all the way down here, touching the $15 level. So that's the problem with stocks that are thinly traded like this, that have big breakouts, is that there's not much support below, and so you could see a drop down to this $15 level if 22 breaks, and then below that $10 is really going to be the big support level. Now if it gets moving and you see they could continue this run, you never know what's going to happen, and if they do, if it, you'll know that if it breaks above this 26 resistance level, and then it could run back up here to 36, and then that would be the key level it would have to break above. It would have to start forming candles above 36 on the 15-minute chart to signal that it wants to head higher. So going forward, above 26 signals upside potential, below 22 signals downside risk. Okay, so SEII is another ticker symbol that was affiliated with IMTE. The word got out that they owned 50% of that company. I'm not sure if that is correct or not, but people did start playing this, and so this is this is what a pump and dump looks like on a chart. So you could see where they ran the share price all the way up here to this, above 625, and look how they drove it all the way back down. It broke above the 50, the 300, the 200, and the 100-day simple moving averages intraday, but it managed to pull back below all those moving averages. It did close above the middle Bollinger Band at 332, so that's the key level to hold. If that holds, a new uptrend could begin. It's only going to head higher if it breaks above that 50-day simple moving average at 383. That's the big level to break. That big pullback right there is a major red flag. If we look at accumulation, distribution, and shaken money flow, you're going to see a big spike down. Okay, so yeah, this is not they diluted into the run. This is a thinly traded stock, and so you could see here, check out accumulation, distribution fell off a cliff, and look at that huge spike down on shaken money flow. So major dilution into this intraday rally. You can see the very low average daily volume, but keep an eye on it. If IMTE is running, they could run this thing again. And now if you look at the 15-minute chart, you can see that really low intraday volume on the previous days, and then all of a sudden when word got out that this was related to IMTE, volume picked up. I mean, when I first looked at it, it had only traded I don't know if it was like 6,000 shares or something on the day, and so it's kind of hard to get behind something like that. But when this first candle formed and it broke above the moving averages, that was your signal. Okay, they're actually going to run this thing, and so it did push up, and then it had the climax spike here at 145, and then you could see the big climax spike. It's the long upper wick and pullback followed by the red candle, and so the candles did work back into the bands. That close below the middle Bollinger Band was a red flag. It needs to hold the 50, 100, this support zone here. Okay, so if it can stay above 350, that'll be, signal that it could bounce. If it drops below 337, then the chart's totally broken. It has to get above 383 to get an uptrend going on the 15-minute chart. Okay, so here's another one that they're doing lots of pump and dumps right now. Very thinly traded stocks. They're running them out of the blue. And so here's another one, ticker symbol BOXL. You could see the really long upper wick on today's candle, and so they drove it up and then drove it down. Okay, so as you can see, this is has a very short history of trading. This just first started trading back in December. It came down and found support. Hardly any volume on this thing until today. And so what you do is you look for the high close, and so that's this level right here at $7.96, basically $8. And so if it can get above $8, then the next key level is going to be the top of this candle, which is at basically 915, 917 right there. And if it can close above that 917, if it breaks out above, that's a blue sky breakout. This was on, this is the entire history of the trading of the stock. And so once it gets above that 9 resistance zone, there's no other resistance except for intraday today. Then you would have the 14 now, is the all-time high. That did happen today. There was a giant volume spike. So going forward, just to make it easy, if it fails to get above $8, that's going to signal downside risk. It's downside risk no matter what, but this is just to try to help people that might have jumped in this today. And the downside risk is it works its way all the way back down to the 50-day simple moving average, which is at 443, if it fails to break through that 8 and 9 resistance zone. Now if you look at BOXL on the 15-minute chart, you could see here that it has very thin, it's very thinly traded. Look how they pushed it up, big, huge gaps, and then, they pulled it back. And so, this type of stock is really hard to trade. It's so thinly traded with big spreads that, you can see how it's jumping around all over the place. Bottom line is if EMAs 4, 8, and 13 remain resistance, that will signal downside risk. If it can get above EMA 8 at 760, then that could signal that it might want to push its way back higher. Okay, so another one to take a look at is NVIV. This did close up 70% today. It actually only has RSI at 62, but the thing with this is it broke above that 50-day simple moving average, and so that was a nice close above that key resistance level, but it hit that 100-day simple moving average and it pulled back. That's similar to what it did back here in March. That's the gold line there. It has to break above 1473 to head higher. Above that would be $16. That was the high close over here. If it fails to get above that level, then you could see the 50-day simple moving average tested again. It needs to stay above $12. If it dropped below 12, that would be a red flag, and you could see it pull all the way back to $9 to test that middle Bollinger Band. It just broke above the middle Bollinger Band today on a big volume spike, so keep an eye on this one. Another one to take a look at is AQMS. It closed up 22.5% today. So yeah, this stock it got a nice uptrend going, and it has good volume as well. It's not sexy. It's in the what is this? This is the waste and disposal services, but the chart looks sexy because it's got a nice uptrend. And right now it's been difficult for stocks to have sustained runs. The small caps has been where it's at. They've been performing the best right now with the big boards pretty much in turmoil right now. Small caps have been a place to find some stocks with good uptrends, and this is one of them. It's trading above the 100, 50, and 20-day simple moving averages. It's right in EMA 4 support higher. As long as EMA 4 at 339 support is holding, that pink line, then the uptrend is really strong. It needs to break above 4 resistance. You can see how 4 is a major resistance zone. Back when it dropped down here in November, that was the big level to break. So it could form a temporary top here. If it does, you want to see EMA 4 hold. If it fails to hold, the big level to hold is going to be $3. You can see it broke above the $3 resistance zone, and so it needs to stay above 3, break above 4, get above 4, and then the 200-day simple moving average at 442 will be the big level to break. Okay, let's look at SMRT. Okay, so this had a nice breakout today, closed up nearly 18%. Just keep in mind it does have RSI at 80 and Fasto at 96. It's up here in the power zone. This has a really nice uptrend as well. You could see the uptrend started back here on what is that, the 23rd of February, when there was this white candle, the close above the middle Bollinger Band. That signaled the start of the uptrend. It got above the 50-day simple moving average. This candle got above the 100 and 200-day simple moving averages. Then it got above the 300-day simple moving average. Notice how it formed this super tight channel right here. It formed 2 dojis in a row, and then today, boom, it finally broke out higher. So after consolidating, you had a mini little volume spike and a breakout higher. Now it has to get above this upper wick on this candle, and that's the big level to break. It's hitting it right now. If it fails to break that level, the candles could work back into the bands. If it breaks out above that level, that's going to be the signal that wants to head higher. You can see MACD just crossed over on both time frames, so you have the bullish crossovers. And yeah, what you want to do when a stock's breaking out is look at the weekly chart. So this chart is the SMRT weekly chart. You can see it's been on a tear since it formed a bottom down here at 50 cents. Huge money maker this year. It's just been cruising higher. This close above the 50-week moving average was really bullish back in March. Notice how all the candles are forming above that pink line at 208. As long as that level's holding and you're a longer-term swing trader, somebody that's going to hold for a longer period of time, the signal is just to keep riding. As long as the chart's not broken, why fix it, right? This has been a major moneymaker. You could have just stuck your money in here in February and just forgot about it, and you're up freaking, 400 or 500%. And so the bottom line is that it doesn't matter what sector the stock's in, as long as it has a good, healthy chart. And if you have a healthy, strong weekly chart with a good uptrend and candles riding EMA4 support higher, there's nothing better than that. All right. So as far as finding a good swing trade. Right now, you can see the big level to break. That's that $2.50 resistance level. That was the high here. If it stalls out here, that would be a red flag. It could take a breather, but like I said, as long as EMA4 is holding, that would signal it wants to keep pushing higher. What it needs to do is break above that level, break above the $3 level over here, and then the next target's going to be the 100-week moving average at 324. Okay, look at the huge volume that came in on this thing in March. All right, so let's look at SSC. Okay, this is a crypto stock, one of the blockchain-related stocks. It closed up 8% today. So yeah, this was been on our radar. We've been talking about this in the chat, and today it finally closed above resistance. It does have RSI at 57, Fasto at 60. So you could see here it closed above that middle Bollinger Band, the dotted purple line. It broke below back here on this candle, and that signaled downside risk. It came down and it held this 50-day simple moving average. You got the 50, 300 and 200-day simple moving averages all lined up here. And now what it needs to do is stay above the middle Bollinger Band at 280, and then it needs to break above this high close resistance on April 9th. If it can get above this 314 level, then 340 is the big level to break. That's the closing price over here. Okay, so if it fails to stay above 280, that'll signal it's not ready to go. And then if it fails to break 315, that would signal a temporary top. So this is setting up. It had the close above the middle Bollinger Band. That's exactly what you want to see. You have the PSAR bull flip. That's the green dots. SAR stands for stop and reverse. The dots flipping below signal the possible start of a new uptrend if that middle Bollinger Band can hold. Keep in mind the middle Bollinger Band is also the 20-day simple moving average. As you look down here, you can see the MACD line and signal line are pinched. You want to see that black line cross over the purple line just like it did down here on the 8, 13, and 5 time frame. That's another indicator that a new uptrend could be starting. If you look here at the SSC 60-minute chart, so each candle on this chart represents 60 minutes of trading, 1 hour, and you can see it has a nice uptrend going off of this 50 and 100 simple moving averages here, the green and the red line, and so yeah, it's right now it's trading above all the moving averages. Okay, it's riding EMA4 support higher. It just needs to break above 290, and then you have this 305 level, which is that you can see over here. This is a big channel. Okay, from back here in from the 11th through the 18th, there was a lot of trading in the sideways channel. So it's all about this. 290 is like the bottom of the channel, and then 305 is the top for the high close and the low close kind of thing. And so if it gets above 305, then you can see a run up here to this 317 level, and then above that is 325. So yeah, so this came down made a bottom. Look at the long lower wick here with the volume spike. That's what we call the load. You know, they loaded at the bottom, and now they're filling the jar back up to that $3 to $3.25 resistance zone. Okay, now we're going to look at a few energy sector penny stocks. That's been a great place to be. There's been a lot of stocks with good uptrends. Keep an eye on ENPH. So very similar to SSC, the chart I just showed you. This one is back above the middle Bollinger Band. So that's currently at 429. It needs to stay above that level. Notice the nice bounce right here off of the green line. That's the 50-day simple moving average following 5 red candles in a row. So that was a nice bounce. There was a gap up open. So this created a bullish kicking reversal pattern. So we'll be looking for a bullish reversal confirmation. It's trading in a sideways channel right now. And so basically this is the top of the channel right here and at $5 to $5.15, and then this is the bottom of the channel. And so basically it bounced off of the bottom of the channel. You can see there is a slightly higher low, which is what you want to see. You know, so it came down. It didn't quite get down. It did have that lower wick, but it had a higher low close, and this actually has a higher a lower high right here as well. But the bottom line is that you're looking for a breakout above 515, and if it can get above that level, that's going to be your signal that it wants to head higher. It's this closing price here on March 27th. Okay, take a look at PES. This closed up 11.5% today. So this has a nice uptrend going. This is another energy sector penny stock. And yeah, it's retracing its way back up to this $4 resistance zone. The closing price here on the 13th of January is the key level to break, the top of this white candle at $4. If it can break that, then that should be the signal that it wants to push higher. It would be the high close, or the high of day from back here in January would be the next key level to break. It's working its way back up there. It's filling the jar. You can see it came down and it made this double bottom. You know, it made a top up here at the 4 to 415 resistance zone, came down, made the double bottom off of this 200-day simple moving average, you know, in the 250 support zone, and now it's working back up to 4. If it breaks out above 4 and turns that into support, that'll be a signal the uptrend is super strong and wants to continue. Just once again, keep an eye on EMA4. Notice how all these candles are riding EMA4 support higher. As long as it's holding, the signal is to keep riding. Okay, let's look at JONE. Closed up 14% today. This is another one of the energy sector stocks that we follow. It closed today above the middle Bollinger Band. That's the move that we always like to see. That's the dotted purple line. And notice that you know, the last close above that level was this white candle right here. And so the downtrend started once that level finally broke. Keep in mind that all these candles here, you know, failed to turn that middle Bollinger Band into support, and it headed lower. And that could happen again. But if it does hold that 67 support zone, what you're looking for is a break above the closing price here at 77.5, and then above the 50-day simple moving average at 81.5. That'll be the next target. If it drops below the middle Bollinger Band, it'll signal it's a risk to hold. Okay, let's look at ECR. Closed up 2% today. This is another one of those energy sector stocks. It's very similar to JONE that I just showed you. You know, it closed above that middle Bollinger Band on Monday, and then for 3 days in a row, it's held above that level with increasing volume. So it's creeping higher. Keep an eye on the 50-day simple moving average at 143. If you see it trading above that level, that's going to be bullish and signaling more upside potential. And then what we'll be looking for is a close above that level. As long as the middle Bollinger Band down here at 131 holds, this new uptrend is intact. Check out the PSAR bull flip. Yeah, this one has been setting up, and so it's you know, getting ready to go. It looks like you know, it has to stay above the middle Bollinger Band, but you can see it's been in this channel as well. And so, you know, it's been in the sideways channel. You know, it bounced off the 125 zone. The top of the channel is lined up with that 50-day simple moving average. It's all about breaking that level and turning it into support. Okay, take a look at WMLP. This is a coal stock. Closed up 46% today. It had a nice move. You know, it had the nasty downtrend today. A big volume spike came in. It did close above the middle Bollinger Band and above this recent high close here since the big drop. And so if it can stay above 127, that'll be bullish. It needs to break above this closing price on the 11th, and then the big levels to break, it has to get through this upper Bollinger Band at 175 and that 50-day simple moving average at 199 or 191. It broke above that level intraday. That signaled the temporary top. You know, if it fails to break that level, it'll signal it's not ready to go. You know, so just keep an eye on this one. And once again, it's a thinly traded stock that did get some volume today. Another one to look at is GSL, closed up 13%. Yeah, this is a marine transportation stock. And so yeah, the big thing about this is it made its move all the way back up to the 140 resistance zone, and so that's from back here in January. So it did have its highest close in 2018. It did close above this black candle, which was the highest close so far. So that is signaling more upside. It has to get above this 140 level. If you see GSL trading above 140, that's going to be bullish. It could run up here to this 160 zone. Get above 160, you got 195. It's just you know, today it broke out above the 200 and 300-day simple moving averages down here at 122 and 126, the red and blue lines. And so that does signal more upside potential. Just keep in mind the candle today was busting well above that upper Bollinger Band, and many times the candles will work back into the bands, kind of like this candle right here. If that does happen, you want to see that 300-day simple moving average at 126 turn into support. You know, notice that it topped out last time in January when it hit this level. Okay, and then one more to finish up with is CVEO. I alerted this last night as a bounce play. It closed up 5% today. It did bounce. You know, it was all those red candles in a row. 5 red candles in a row, and then it closed well below the lower Bollinger Band with this lower little wick here. It just signaled, it looked like it was going to get ready to bounce. And then, yeah, it also had the 200-day simple moving average at 279, just below this level. Today it did bounce. It formed a bullish Haremy reversal pattern. The candles are working their way back into the bands, and now it's all about breaking EMA 4 at 329. If it fails to close above that level, it will be a risk to hold. It has to break that level, and then it'll be the 100-day simple moving average at 338. It'll be the big level to break. If you look here at the CVEO 15-minute chart, you can see it got above the middle Bollinger Band at the open today, and then it got above the 50 simple moving average at 11 o'clock. It needs to stay above that level. If it drops below 314, it will be a risk to hold. You know, it did break down below the middle Bollinger Band, and that is a red flag. You know, that does make it a risk. You know, that is not the close. And you know, anytime any stock closes below EMA 4 on the daily chart, it is a risk to hold long. But this is the time that you do. This is when you do make that trade below the lower Bollinger Band. That's the time when the below EMA 4 is when you're doing it. This is called a dead cat bounce play, and when you have this kind of setup, and so you try to trade it off of the intraday chart, and so you know, the intraday chart has to stay bullish for this to remain in play, or so it'll be a really big risk to hold. So if you're still in, you know, it has to stay above that green line. If that fails to hold, that'll signal it's gonna, you know, break down further. It needs to get above the middle Bollinger Band at 322, and then what you're really looking for is a break above that 100 simple moving average at 330. If it broke above 330, that would be super bullish. Okay, thanks a lot for viewing this video. Come check out the chat. I'll post the link below the video. And yeah, yeah. So thanks again. Have a great night.